If the federal government commits an unjust killing against one of its own civilians, who should be the one that investigates that? Because this week, in two different cities, civilians were shot by federal officials, local investigators were sidelined, and the federal government said, don't worry, we'll investigate it ourselves. The biggest news of the week was the unjust killing of Renee Good by an ICE agent in Minneapolis. And Minnesota officials say that they were cut out mid investigation into this killing. According to state officials, the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, or the BCA, initially agreed with federal authorities to conduct a joint investigation with the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office. But that agreement was finished in just a couple of hours. The Trump administration began publicly spinning the shooting, and federal officials reversed course and informed the BCA that the FBI would assume full control of their own crime.
Independent investigation is, even if the federal government does not want to have you have a joint investigation?
So, great question. We have asked for cooperation from the federal government. We were invited in to do a joint investigation on this initially. We continue to work with the federal government all the time on joint investigations. This is not something new, whether it be with the FBI or other federal law enforcement agencies. So we are accustomed to doing joint investigations. As the governor has mentioned, our force investigative unit within the BCA has a stellar reputation for doing quality investigations, for finding the answers to the questions that people have. There are so many questions out there that I know the public has from watching what's been shown on social media and regular media. And the goal for me would be to provide an investigation, preferably in tandem with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, because we work with them all the time, and they do have all the evidence in the original investigative notes and reports. We have none of that. They have shared none of that with us. We would welcome the opportunity to jump back in, to do that investigation, use our high quality investigators from the BCA to be able to do that with them, to find the answers that the public deserves. Without any of that information, or without any of that assistance from the FBI or the federal government, we would be at a loss to be able to initiate and conduct a thorough investigation. For us to be able to do that, it would be extremely difficult, if not impossible, without cooperation from the federal government.
So you're telling me the same federal government that immediately came out and said Renee Good deserved to die because she was a domestic terrorist, and claimed that the ICE agent who got in the way of her car was in the hospital fighting for his life, even though we clearly saw that he had no injuries right after the incident. This is the same federal government who we're supposed to trust to give us the truth. Anybody can see that this is blind corruption, blatant corruption. How could we allow the federal government, who has already shown how corrupt they are, to be the ones to be the arbiter of truth? Now, all of this is really important because this is not typical procedure for how these cases are supposed to be investigated. State officials are always involved, especially when the crime happens to a resident of the state and it happens on state soil. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noam defended the move, claiming Minnesota had no jurisdiction in this investigation.
The head of Minnesota State Investigations Agency said that they had been cut out of the investigation into the fatal shooting in Minneapolis. Can you explain that reversal?
I'd like to know where they've been and why they're not out on the streets investigating all of these people that are harassing and inciting violence on law enforcement officers.
You're not
right
letting
now.
them.
They're allowing the situation to be volatile. They're not doing their work. They haven't for years, and maybe they should get to work a little bit on the unprecedented fraud that we've seen in Minnesota and in Minneapolis by people that stole from American citizens and diverted funds away from vulnerable people and programs and services that they needed and put it into their own pockets. Minnesota is a train wreck. It is corrupt, and it was under the leadership of Governor Walz and this mayor that they allowed it to happen, and they let criminals and illegals and people abuse programs and steal the money, and now they're allowing violence to go forward on the streets as well. They have not been cut out. They don't have any jurisdiction in this investigation.
How are these people elected to these levels of influence? They have no jurisdiction. It is a crime that happened in the state. It needs to be investigated by state officials. The BCA is inviting the FBI to join as a joint investigation. It's not like they're trying to cut out federal agents from being able to investigate this as well. but you just need to allow the state to do so. You need to give the information that is necessary and the information that is relevant to the crime. So there can be two different aspects that are coming at this together. Two heads are better than one. Can we say that? Can we say that we can follow what's typical procedure? We can't say that, apparently. The Secretary of Department of Homeland Security is saying we cannot secure the homeland. We cannot ensure that state officials are able to investigate crimes that happen in their state. This is insane. And the fact that she does this whataboutism and this immediate pivot, like, oh, wait, you're accusing the federal government of killing somebody and then not allowing the state to investigate that killing. Well, have you thought about welfare fraud? What about the fraud, people taking money? What welfare? That's relevant, right? Because that is a good way that I can deflect from the unjust murder from an ICE agent. Thank you, Kristi. Now, dozens of different legal observers have said that this looks exactly like what it is. It's a cover-up. I mean, the House of Homeland Security Committee said you don't cut out investigators unless you're hiding something. Kristi Noam's DHS is covering up the killing of a U.S. citizen. And at the same time, Republicans in Congress moved to block the oversight. On the House Oversight Committee, Rep. Ayanna Pressley introduced a motion to subpoena the DHS and ICE for their records, body cam footage, and internal communications. And every Republican said no. Just blatant no, we're not going to make that happen. We don't want state investigators to do their job and investigate what happens in the state. Pressley responded by saying DHS's claim that an agent shot in self-defense is a bold-faced lie, and the video footage is damning. Republicans shamefully voted it down, demonstrating once again that they never cared about law and order. So state investigators were removed, Congress blocked any attempt to rejoin them, and the DHS is in full control. We know what this looks like. One day after Renee Good was killed, 2 people were shot by federal agents in East Portland, and the Portland police say the victims were a husband and wife, both wounded and both hospitalized. Shooting happened around 10:18 in Hazelwood neighborhood, and DHS claims that Customs and Border Patrol agents stopped a vehicle while searching for a Venezuelan man that they allege is connected to Tren de Aragua. The DHS claims that the driver weaponized his vehicle and attempted to run over law enforcement agents. Does that not sound like the exact same story that they gave? They also claim that the agent fired in self-defense. But the Portland police chief, Bob Day, said something that's really important. We at this time do not know if this is an immigration-related event. We do not know which federal agencies were involved. Why are they not looping in state and local law enforcement? This should be as transparent as possible. One of the worst accounts of state violence is killing its own citizens or the people that live in this country. This needs to be on record. Everything needs to be out there. They need to show the American people that they are being transparent so there can be genuine accountability. People need to feel safe by the agents and the law enforcement that resides in its country. And I can guarantee you, most communities do not feel safe right now. They also said that local authorities could not confirm DHS's story, and they didn't know how many agents fired or what the cause was. And 6 minutes later, Portland police responded to a second 911 call 3 miles away, where they found the same couple with gunshot wounds. Once again, the FBI is the one who took control. For anyone paying attention, this pattern is undeniable. Both cases in Minneapolis, ICE kills Renee Good, DHS claims that she weaponized her vehicle, the video and witnesses contradict this claim, and state investigators are blocked out. And on the other side of the country, in Portland, Border Patrol shoots a married couple, DHS claims that the driver weaponized his vehicle, police can't confirm or deny the story, and the FBI takes over. The same justification, the same story, the same cover-up. When are things going to change? This is a press release by Tina Kotick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chief Day. Good evening, Oregonians. We're standing here today united as a state, wanting peace and safety in our communities. We're all shaken and outraged by another terrible, unnecessary, violent event instigated by the reckless agenda of the Trump administration. This time in our own state, in our largest city, coming just one day after the tragedy in Minnesota. While the details of the incident remain limited, one thing is very clear. When a president endorses tearing families apart and attempts to govern through fear and hate rather than shared values, you foster an environment of lawlessness and recklessness. Trust is essential to maintaining community safety and the rule of law. Federal agents at the direction of the Department of Homeland Security are shattering trust. They are hurting people and they are destroying day by day what we hold dear. Our sense of safety and our literal safety are severely undermined by what happened this afternoon in Portland. I'm so thankful that no one died and more people weren't hurt. The Attorney General and other leaders have been clear about our concerns with the excessive use of force by federal agents in Portland. And today's incident only heightens the need for transparency and accountability. Oregonians deserve clear answers. And I am aligned with the mayor. The priority right now is a full, completed investigation, not more detentions. My message to the federal government is this: we demand transparency. We demand your cooperation with Portland Police and the Multnomah County DA, because we need to investigate this incident efficiently and effectively so we can rebuild trust with our nation's government. There are those who want to cause chaos, but Oregonians know how to stand up and speak out peacefully. We must remain united in peaceful opposition to efforts to tear our community apart. We must not turn against each other. We must stand neighbor to neighbor. We must not take the bait. And I want to end by saying I'm grateful to the first responders who have been managing this incident today here in Portland. And I stand and we stand united with Americans across our country and with Minneapolis and Minnesota in light of these very troubling events.
Is this supposed to be the norm? Should Americans expect that their neighbors, their family members, the people in their community might just be the victim of ICE daily? We have 2 shootings back to back where 3 people are either injured or killed by federal agents. And we don't even have the decency to know that there is a transparent investigation taking place. Why should the perpetrators of a crime be the same ones to declare whether or not they are guilty? This is what we see in banana republics. I can't even claim that we're not a banana republic anymore. We have the sitting executive of the country openly saying that people are domestic terrorists with 0 evidence in order to justify that killing. They don't kill people because they're terrorists. They call you a terrorist so they can kill you. Now, this, of course, has led to hundreds of people protesting ICE detention facilities in Portland. And this has caused law enforcement to warn people, hey, I know that you might be upset at your government, but don't be too upset, because we can still arrest you. We can still show that you are impacting munitions. We can still demonstrate physical force on you. So not only is your government committing crimes in open without accountability, but then you are the one that is punished for showing opposition to those same crimes. This comes right after the National Guard deployed to Portland were later ruled unconstitutional by federal courts, and the deployments from Trump saying that he would come back if unrest continues. Your ability to protest the government lasts only insofar that it does not piss off the government. Explain that to me. Explain the logic there. This is more than just one federal officer, more than just different isolated events happening. This is a repeated pattern of behavior. This is the government being able to kill citizens, seize the evidence, stop state investigators from making that evidence transparent. And if the DHS has nothing to hide, they should have the same logic that they tell us, right? When they increase our surveillance state, when they take away our right to privacy and say, hey, if you have nothing to hide, let the government see it all. Okay, follow that same logic. If you have nothing to hide, make what happened as transparent as possible. Because if you're able to kill people and we can't even know what the full details are, this is more than just one instance of abuse. This is policy that is reinforced by the government that is doing the abuse. We are seeing people across the country take action in the streets to show that they are opposing what their government is allowing. Here in my home state of California, in Los Angeles, Fullerton, Sierra Madre, there are many different protests that are happening. And if you are as outraged as I am and you want to take to the streets, there's a link in the description that will show you a protest in your local area. Stay safe, stay vigilant, fuck ICE.